Morning everyone. Guess what? I'm going to talk about what we usually talk about. Nothing, no thing pointing to no thing. And recognising it as no thing. What they call non-duality, and that is all there is. It's not two. So if there's only the one and it's absolute, who or what can label it as anything other? So that which is labelling it, and that's which is seemingly separated it, is still the no thing expressing as no thing instead of something. Something cannot come from no thing. One without a second, not two. We've taken on this persona, the belief that we are separate entities, individuals, persons. And the parents reinforced, taught us that, and we went to school and they reinforced it. Now we're continually reinforcing it ourselves until it's looked at. Unfortunately, there have been patterns, shapes and forms down through the ages with the word expressing or coming from them, and walking the walk as well as talking the talk. Religions, great traditions have formed around them. And the basis of all those great traditions is there is only one, or not even one. Hebrews say, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God, there is none other." The Muslims say, there is no God but God. Allah is his name. Christians call it Father, Son and Holy Spirit. Buddhists call it cognizing emptiness. And the Taoists say the way that can be talked about is not the way. Pointing out there and then that all this talking is not it. And the words are not the thing. And if we hadn't learned words, what would we be right now? Well, look, have a look and see, what are you without the word? Without the thought, without the word, have you disappeared? Has the thinking stopped? Has the seeing stopped? Has the breathing stopped? Heart beating, hair and fingernails growing, food being digested? Has the earth stopped rolling around the sun? Have the tides stopped coming in and out? Have the seasons stopped coming and going? It's all happening or appearing, and they call it that in Buddhism, a phenomenal manifestation, pointing out that phenomena is that which appears to be, illusory appearances. So though this pattern, shape and form seemingly sitting here, seemingly solid and substantial, it is not. Like one of the Buddhist teacher said, it's all appearance. And he says, that rock, he was sitting up against it. That rock I'm leaning up against is transparent. And we think we've got to see it as transparent, as nothing. But he wasn't meaning that as meaning we don't have to see through the rock, but it is transported. It's only appearing to be so. So we take on this idea we are this body-mind person. Word comes from persona. Latin, I think it was. Persona meaning the mask. We've broken it down to person. And we take ourselves to be this person. And how can we express it? Well, we say, I am Bob. I am this body. I am this mind. I am the self. I am this seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, feeling. This is myself. Person, meaning persona of the mask. But they tell you, in all the great traditions, there's only one Atman. One self, Atman, self. Not a personal self at all. It's only the one, not two. It was also pointed out in many different ways, the absolute no person, no separate entity, one. We hear it, but it needs to be seen by each and every expression or pattern of it. It needs to recognise itself. But we've got the idea that somebody's going to do it for us, all these ancients. Sages, saviours, and seers, gods will give it to us. They will pass it on to us if we pray, meditate and bow down and do all this sort of thing. It'll give it to us. But it doesn't happen. In some cases it might, like in one of the, I don't know who it was, one of the Buddhists I think it was, says, or famous Bhakti, worshipping the form, he said, by worshipping the form, I attained the formless. Rumi, was it? Was it Rumi? I don't know what it was. Somebody anyway said it. It was said by some pattern, shape or form, by worshipping the form, I attained the formless. So in that way, it was able to be seen through and recognised. But what he attained was his true nature, the formless. The Buddha called it a cognising emptiness. And if we think we cognise the emptiness, when we look around and we see the space in which everything is appearing, we know that space is empty. And so we think we cognise that, we're in it. It's not that. We realise it's the emptiness that it's all appearing in, and the emptiness is cognising or knowing. It's empty of any shape or any form, but it's not empty of that pure intelligence energy. The awareness, we like to call it awareness. We've put that a label on it. Awareness. Tell me what awareness is. Show me it. You realise you can't show me anything you can say, this is awareness. But you know innately that I am not unaware. You know you're not unaware. So using that word, which has an opposite like every other word, if you're not unaware, you must be aware. So you are already that. And that's what the Mahavakya is. I am that, the great mantra. I am that. Innately, you already know it. Because you say, that's the chair, That's the table, that's the carpet, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's you, that's the cat, that's the dog, everything is that. But we put other labels on, we put labels on to discriminate. The only way we can discriminate and seemingly separate it was putting a label or the word on it. And every word you've ever spoken, or ever likely to speak, has been picked up along the way. We've learnt it, acquired it. And you weren't born with any words. Understand that and recognise yourself, because when you were born, when were you born? Can you remember your birth? You know you can't remember your birth. Why? Because you didn't have any words to say, I am born, I am here. But you were aware when you came out of the womb. You were kicking and struggling in the womb, so there was an awareness there that was functioning at even there. After a certain seeming period, when as the fetus and embryo formed. And you didn't learn words for the first couple of years of your life. Some of it might have been sooner, some later, but around about 2.5 or somewhere around that age, we learnt words. Where'd you learn them from? Your parents. They're the ones fussing around you and telling you, little Johnny, you little Billy, put the label on you, Billy, Johnny, or Jean, or Pat, or whatever your label is. And you learnt other words when they're talking, you hear them talking, read them, and you learnt words like I and me. And so I am little Johnny, or whatever it is. And little Johnny looks out there, and he's learned these words, his reasoning capacity is developed, and that's what happens. The capacity of reasoning develops in these human forms, and it's a very useful capacity. And it's more developed in these human pattern shapes, what we call human pattern shapes and forms. What are these other birds, insects, that particular capacity? But they have other capacities that we don't have. Like a bird has a capacity of eyesight, it can see much better than we can. And it has a capacity of flying. It can fly, we can't fly, but through the capacity of reasoning, which is very useful, we've learned to build ourselves eyeglasses if our eyes are failing, telescopes, binoculars and things like that which will enable us to see better. In the act of flying, we can't fly, but we've built ourselves helicopters, planes, balloons and kites which enable us to fly. So it's very useful. Now a dog has a sense of smell, the capacity of smelling, much more developed than yours or mine. Chameleons and other insects can change colour, blend with the camouflage and blend themselves with what a particular environment. Grubs and caterpillars can form cocoons in which they develop in and metamorphose from a very ordinary looking grub, caterpillar, into a beautiful colourful black butterfly or moth. Amazing. Implies that there is an innate intelligence suffusing this phenomenal manifestation, making it seem real or appear to be real for a start off, and forming all these diverse and amazing pattern shapes and forms. And this human form is just another expression of it. Expression of the very life that is there, that's suffusing everything. And that's all it is, and everything is life. Life is being. Life is knowing. Life is loving to be. Life is awareing. It's seeing, it's hearing, it's tasting. And out of life, more life continually comes. But we put on the label life, birth and death. we think when the pattern, shapes and forms change, that is death, because the body disappears after a while, starts to rot and break down. Not realising as it's rotting and breaking down, it's full of life, because what's breaking it down? Microbes, bacteria, germs, and things that come along, worms, grubs, maggots. They're all life forms breaking down. So out of life again, more life comes. And some of those grubs or maggots will be food for birds or other insects. And so it goes on, continuing life, coming from life all the time. And there's this great fear about death. But if the realisation or recognition that you are the absolute, you are the one without a second, the non-dual, pure intelligence energy that was born, what's going to die? Is the absolute going to disappear because you, believing that human, move out of it or disappear out of that pattern? You can't add anything to the absolute. You can't take anything away from it. It's always and ever and always and will be and ever be the absolute. And it's no thing. Really no thing. We break that word down and say nothing and put a different meaning on it entirely. We think it's a vacuum or a void, zero. But it's no thing. And have a look at this manifestation. And that's all the manifestation is. It's made up of things. So everything is this manifestation. And everything are pattern, shapes and forms which we take to be real. But they tell you again in the scriptures that the manifestation is a phenomenal manifestation. And your dictionary definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. It's only seemingly so, appearing to be so. And appearing to be so and seeming very real. Like a hypnotist can hypnotise people, and some people can hypnotise themselves. And what they come up in that hypnotism, what they see and what they do is seemingly very real. But when they wake up from the hypnosis, they see none of it existed. We can dream of a night, and the dream at night can be very real. There can be all sorts of things happening in the dream. But your body doesn't move off the bed, no words come out of your mouth. When you wake up, where does the dream go? It disappears. And it doesn't remain around very long. If it's a nightmare or a terrible thing, you might keep it there by re-engaging in it in the waking state, what you can remember of it, and keep it there and beat yourself up with it. If you don't, how many dreams have you had now in your life? How many of them can you recognise? You can't. And how much of the waking state? I'm forgetting a lot of that too nowadays. And it's only natural that you do forget a little bit. And I think it is, who was it, the Sagadatta's guru, Siddhareshwar says, he says, what can be remembered or forgotten is not you. It's not you at all. And the remembering and the forgetting it is not you. So we're left with this pure, what I call, for want of a better term, intelligence energy. Don't call it the person or the body or the mind, I call it intelligence energy. When I'm talking about intelligence, I'm not talking about your intellects. not the personal concept you got or the beliefs you got about it, but the innate. Look in nature. They also call it in a lot of the scriptures, it's the natural state. What do they mean by that? They just mean it as it is in nature. As it is out there in nature, it is the natural state. So look in nature and see for yourself. What's happening in nature? Well, galaxies are imploding or exploding or forming again, or stars are moving about, Earth's rolling around the sun, seasons coming and going, tides moving in and out, all sorts of tsunamis, ice ages and things are happening out there in nature. Gales can be blowing, it can be still and silent, it can be droughts, floods, everything going on in nature. Doesn't that imply that nature is suffused with an innate intelligence? There's not some old guy out there in the sky that's patterning, shape and forming things, granting boons, and if they do this and do that, they'll do it for them. Then just try and imagine that. Is there any so-called being, or no matter how great it appears to be, that could do that? Just the same with Santa Claus. We got the idea that Santa Claus is real. And he comes down this chimney on Christmas Eve, every chimney in the world at the same time. And you realise it's a fiction when you wake up to it. But we still put it up there for our children to enjoy because we enjoyed it. We put up this idea of a God, a big God up there that's got a stick, and he's got his pal, his friend the devil, and they're going to work on us together and fix us up. And they tell you that in the scriptures too. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was with God because that's all God is the Word. A label we put on the absolute. We put on that pure intelligence energy. I'm saying the way all these things are forming implies it's suffused with this innate intelligence. And what's intelligence? Another term for intelligence is knowing or awareing. In that awareness or consciousness is intelligence, and able to pattern, shape and form. And what's the energy? Well, any energy is an activity. It's only the one energy, but it's an activity, it's a movement. And so you're not unaware, you must be aware and know that you are. That's intelligence. That's the activity of knowing. And all these things that we know are that activity of knowing. I think we know. We're knowing them, not what was known or will be known, but the knowing that's going on right now. And the basic knowing is I am. That's how it expresses through the mind with the Word. All things were made by Him by the Word. And there was nothing made that was made without the Word. So all these words that we've learnt, taken to be real, and we've learnt plenty of words, and there's a lot we haven't learned that are in the dictionary. Haven't learned. But they've been formed somehow along the way by some pattern, shapes and forms. The dictionary's full of them. The different languages of things they utilise words in. Word is not the real. They're just labels we put on things. Take the word water and see for yourself whether it's real. Go out and get a drink of water. Drink the word, not the thing that we're labelling. Drink the label if you can, word. You can't drink the water. You can drink the H2O, the liquid, but not the water. Take the word fire, cook, go out and cook a meal with the word fire. Does it burn your mouth? Fire's hot. Does it burn your mouth when you speak it? It doesn't. So you see the word's not the real. What is this word I or me? This I or me, say, oh, this is me, Bob, the Australian, the good fella. This is what I am. I am that. That's not it at all. The word I am is the sense of presence, that awareness of being or knowing, a sense of being present and aware, expresses through the mind, through this pattern we call the body-mind, and some of the organs that are in it, like the brain, the heart, the lungs, all through the mind. That mind is the thought, where thoughts come from. Sounds, which are word, which are vibration, which are a movement of energy, expressed through the word I am. That's the primary sound. And that's labelled in all the great traditions too. The primary moan or movement of the universe is I am. And we've taken this I am to be the person. And when Nisargadatta says, stay with that I amness. He says, I stayed with that I amness for 3 years. Whenever I could remember it, I would. And every spare moment. And within 3 years, I recognised my true nature. And that 3 years was not coming from some practice he'd done before that, because he didn't have any belief. When his friend took him to see his guru, that was the first one he'd ever looked at, and the first time he'd looked into the scriptures and the Hindu thing. But something there attracted him. He didn't want to go even, and he was forced to go, more or less. And in going, something attracted him while he was there, and from then on he stayed with that sense of presence. That's the I amness. That's that sense of presence. To tell anybody who you are presently, you'll say, I am so-and-so, wouldn't you? So it's a sense of presence, not the thought, I am. The thought I am has got nothing to do with it whatsoever. But we've taken it to be. Repeat the word or repeat the mantra. You can repeat the mantra if you want to. And it'll do if you've got a mind that's racing here, there and everywhere else. You keep it one-pointed for a while, keep it in one direction. And not loading it down with all the other concepts as well, but just pure sense of presence. Recognise it. And in the recognise it, you'll start to recognise that you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the person. You are that I amness. Because that is the great mantra, the greatest of the mantra is I am that. And innately, don't you know that already? Because I point to a tree and you say, that's a tree. A flower, that's a flower. That's the sky, that's the space, that's the room. You know what everything is. But instead of seeing it just as it is, we put the labels on and discriminate it with the word. And all our thoughts, feelings, emotions are discriminating, dividing that word. This is good, that's bad. This is pleasant, that's painful. This is happy, this is sadness. Not realising that thought, feeling and emotion are just that vibrating energy also. 3 aspects of the one, even though it appears as 3, thought, feeling and emotion, it's one essence. Thought's very subtle. Thought comes up spontaneously and naturally. And it might be, you don't know what the thought's going to be because you can't tell me what you think. But it might be a thought that reminds you of some relationship you had or some place you lived in or some place where a big accident or something took place or many other different ways. And it'll bring up immediately a sad feeling. The thought sadness come up, which is a feeling or a sensation. So the thought now, out of its subtleness, has moved into this feeling or sensation, which is a bit solider than a thought, seemingly more real because it's a feeling in the body. And we keep that there long enough, and then that sensation or feeling will become emotional. It'll be anger, fear, or tears will come, or guilt, or shame, or remorse. But it becomes a physical thing. Now when it's gone into the physical, it stirs up a lot of things in there. And those things stirred up, can cause the blood pressure to rise, and cause all sorts of things to happen. We don't realise it's caused by the word. The word that creates the feeling, and the feeling which becomes the emotion. So the universe is functioning the same. It's the universe that's doing that, and it's the universe that's doing it in nature too, by steam, water and ice, and many other ways you'll find it. Three aspects of the same thing again. Steam's heated water or evaporating water forms steam, a very subtle thing. Then that'll cool down and condense, and it'll be coming, in the cooling down it'll become a mist or a fog. And there's no longer the liquid water, and that fog will become and break down and come down as rain, which is then water, which cools again and become ice, solid. So the solidity is all coming from the vibrating pattern shapes and forms, which have no substance. So it's only a seemingly, this manifestation, as I say, as they call it, a phenomenal manifestation, is only appearing. It appears to be solid and real. This body appears to be solid, substantial and real. You can prod it, you can do that all. But in the dream, can't you do all sorts of things also? Very dreamlike. When you wake up from the dream, you know it's a dream. Yes. But when you wake up from sleep of a night and next morning, this seemingly waking dream continues on from where it left off. The dream in the sleep, when it finishes, it's over. It's the end of it. This one seemingly continues. And it continues on and on till you recognise its true nature. Do that through, you start investigating or seeing. Insights will come up again. You might be sitting quietly or doing something, and an insight or something will move you to say, this is not good enough. And that's what most of you listening to this will be from, because you've taken you a bit longer beyond just believing you are that person. And I've got to become something. I've got to become realised, because what I've read in the scriptures tell me I'm a sinner, and I've got to believe in a God that will make me whole or complete. Not realising that I've never been anything other than being whole and complete. And so I think I've got to come back from behind the 8 ball and get to make myself not a sinner, and then become whole and complete. It's weird. No wonder it's hard to fathom. Start from the fact that you already are that. And you know that when they call it Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is loving to be. Are you existing right now? I am existing right now. Are you? Are you conscious right now? Yes, you're conscious. You are not unaware right now. You must be aware. And that consciousness comes upon that awareness. Are you happy to be right now? Well, you might be the happiest in the world, but you wouldn't want to be dead, would you? If you want to be dead, you wouldn't be taking any notice of this coronavirus. You'd let it be happening. But you're free of the fear of there already, of death. And so it goes on. But when you can't remember your birth, how can you say I was born? Because you had no word. And birth and death, the concept of birth and death didn't come into it until you learnt words. And when you look into the word and see the word's not real, you're halfway there for a start off. Where up until the moment the word's been the real, it's been the thing. Now when you see that the word's not the thing. So we try to start off from behind the 8 ball to become something. And to become something, you've got to get the favour of this so-called God, Big Daddy up in the sky. Yeah. And you've got to got to pray to him, got to worship him, got to give him gifts and flowers and all the rest of it. and I'll be on, God will be on my side. And that's what they did in the wars. In the First World War, the Germans had a belt buckle, and God meant us on it. God's with us. And the British, everybody on the other side was saying God was with them. God is on my side. Why don't you get on? Nobody's on God's side. So instead of having God on my side, go on to God's side and see what happens then. So we believe all these things, and look at your dictionary definition of belief. An unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. Question it and see, and you'll recognise what they tell you in the scriptures too, that the false cannot stand up to investigation. Look how many things we've understood or recognised through seeing through by investigating them and having a look. Investigate this self, this me that you call myself, when there's only Atman. They tell you that only the one self. When it's myself, everybody that says myself, there's a million souls. Will the real self stand up? So when you all these things are questions, look into them, question and look into them and see for yourself. You'll break away from the old erroneous beliefs. And they tell you that too in the scriptures. They call it, our problem is ignorance. Now we've got another take on that word. We say ignorance means I'm dull or stupid, I'm silly, I don't understand. But it means purely and simply that we are ignoring our things. Our true nature is always and ever with us. But we ignore it and go into the story and keep elaborating on the stories and the beliefs. And while the true nature is all there, ready there, waiting to be recognised. The cognising emptiness, it's the emptiness is cognising, emptiness is forming it all, and the form is nothing but the emptiness. Recognise that continually. Well, this form that I believe myself to be is empty. And everything around me, those emptiness, which are appearing as forms, are still the emptiness. So if it's all the emptiness, I am that one, without a second. I am that absolute. And let it appear how it is. Who's got anything to do with the appearance? Who can change? Can an appearance, which we are, change an appearance? Can we do anything with the appearance? Nothing can be done with it, but that innate intelligence within you can recognise it, recognise that the appearance is Maya. It's illusion. It's a phenomenal manifestation. It's not the truth. But the essence of how it's appearing is the truth. So the heart of it, or the essence, is the truth. So look into that heart, the core of your being. It's the core of matter. And see yourself. And that's enough from this bird today. Cat's with us. He can say a few words. But we ask you, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them. Don't be worried about what the people around you might think. If you think it's a stupid question or what, say it. And if you've gone any distance with that, and most of you have, or you wouldn't be here, tell us about it. Because the way you say it might be put in a different word and a simpler way to say it than what I am, and be easier understood by somebody who is more open to it. So get into it.
Okay, so welcome everyone. We have a couple of comments and questions. They, as usually, scattered around no matter which option I choose. There is one from Amarnath. Bob, can you explain deep sleep is phenomenon, pattern, Maya? We are aware of awareness and deep sleep too. Actually, we are never asleep at all, but appears to be so in deep sleep.
It appears to be so. It's phenomenal, but it's not.
It depends who is the we. If the we is the body, or the we is the cognizing emptiness.
Well, if you investigate it and see when you're going to deep sleep, there's nothing seemingly seen or knowing. But when you wake up and you'll say, I slept well, how would you know? That pure essence or awareness was there, but you couldn't say anything about it without the word.
Yeah.
So the word was in abeyance then. But your heart hadn't stopped beating, you haven't stopped breathing, your fingernails hadn't stopped growing, all the functioning was going on, but thinking had stopped. And Shakespeare tells you that was nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. The Saga tells you nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination, imagining. And when it's in deep sleep, a dream stage, you start imagining, look what you imagine in the dream. All the images that appear in the dream seem very real. And the dream can be very troubling, or it can be a lovely dream. But that's what's troubling you, your own imagination. It's going on.
Yeah, so that's what Ian is commenting on this one. Yeah, but you have no control over the dream body mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
You don't have any control
Over anything.
over the waking body mind. Then who's the controller? The controller is a conceptual image. I am. But I am can't do anything. The controlling happens.
Controlling happen. Yeah, actions happen. Taking credit for actions also happen. Even that is innocent and doesn't have any. Yeah, I'll just look for the newer ones. What life does is always perfect, Heyman says.
Yeah.
What a beautiful background today. That's Heyman. Thank you. Oh, you are in a mood of appreciation. That's beautiful. A lot of beautiful messages with a lot of nice smiley hearts and faces and beautiful words. Thank you. And this one is from Tanya. There is no separate entity to be in conflict with so-called other, but there is a habit pattern thought calls conflict with my daughter. There has been seeming conflict with her lately, and there is wondering about how to drop this habit, or it will just drop by itself. There is no center to be in conflict or uneasy. Just apparent conflict or annoyance appears. Taking the labels of there is just intelligence energy.
Yes. See your daughter as that also, instead of seeing her as your daughter.
Yeah, the whole dance, the interactions, like she comes with something, the response comes from you. This is all included. You are the consciousness in which the whole interaction, whole functioning, whole dance shows up. And including the label conflict, because of course without the label, as you say, it's just intelligence energy. But if the label comes up, that's also spontaneous, and that's also included. But I think I've seen, I didn't read it, but I've seen a response to it from Rohan, which is usually always very good. I see if I can find it. Not in this screen. I'll just
See that?
another screen.
I was saying, see, Tanya, see the daughter as it also.
Yeah.
It's like the story about the fella that goes to a guru and says, I want to know the truth. The guru said, well, see everything as that. And he said, yeah, see everything as God. You know? So he's wandered around, oh, that tree's God, this is God, that's the God. And he comes to a village. And this village, there's an elephant gone mad in there. And people come racing out of the village, quick, quick, get out of the way. There's an elephant gone mad. He said, well, that's all right. I see him, everything as God. I'll see him as God, you know. So he walks into the village and the elephant grabs hold of him, tosses him up into a tree and breaks his arms and legs up into the tree. And he's fine. He finishes up in hospital. And he's in the hospital and the guru came to visit him. And he says, hey, listen, you told me to see that elephant as God. Tell it, see everything as God. He says, I saw that elephant as God. And the guru says, you fool, why didn't you see the people that told you to get out of the road as God?
Yeah, that's it. Everything. Nothing's excluded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to find that nice reply. I'm sure it's nice. I didn't see it though. But try this one. Okay, I think it will be here. Yeah, Amarnath commented to Tanya, attachment and detachments are conflicts. We are dreaming to be not dreaming.
Yeah.
And now Rohan, I got it. Who is wondering about how to drop it? I have also noticed certain habits coming up recently, and when there is a little bit of a resistance, I just check to see who is resisting and see that there is actually no resistor outside a pattern of thought.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. Also, who labels the habit as good or bad? Because they all neutral. Even the most horrific, horrible pattern of people who, let's say, sue others for money or just to harass them and make their life difficult, this pattern is also neutral. And the possessor is completely innocent. It's just a pattern. If we don't see anything as having any flavor or any value, that's how the emptiness sees that. That's how the cognizing emptiness unconditionally accepts everything that comes, everything that appears. And ultimately, there is that level in us which is okay with everything at all times. And that's the true nature, not the I that has labels or judgments or hopes or even wish for things to be different. And if the wish for things to be different comes up, that's part of the play, that's part of the dance. And it's not personal, it's not me having that wish, it's just a pattern, it's just an image, mental image. And Tanya says, thank you, Bob and Kat. Yes, daughter is intelligence energy, also no separate. That is sin. Yes, intelligence is all inclusive, otherwise it would not be non-dual. Beautiful. Jessie says, spectacular spiel today, Bob. I agree.
Who said it?
Jessie. Yeah, beautiful. Megan, so what about when you are doing activities in service and people are criticizing and messaging? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They do whatever they need to do. They just as mechanical as
they're
everything.
not taken on board, they just let them pass through.
No, yeah, you may acknowledge them and smile to them, and just like everything in nature is that same one essence.
And we know that quite well. We get a lot of criticism.
Oh yeah, a lot of bullying, a lot. Nick Silk, I have no idea what significance dreams have in deep sleep, if any, or to interpret them at all. They seem more like just a cathartic gossip of letting go, but I don't remember being awake in the dream. Anything missing here?
No, that's how it is for you, and good. Other people have got to try and work it out. And you haven't got that problem if you don't see it.
Yeah. If you don't know what is the significance and you're okay with not knowing, that's the good place to be. Because we can say a lot of stories, and I heard quite a few different theories that science have about the significance of the dream, which is like a rehearsal for the situations, it's a learning process, or it's a random activity of certain networks in the brain. But all those theories are just attempts to explain something that is mysterious and is really better if it stays this way.
Yeah, because they try to make a story out of it.
Exactly, yeah. It's just not really, you are missing absolutely nothing by not believing into one or the other theory, scientific or spiritual or any other. We are not about being believers here. It is actually good not to know. I heard about people who are training, and I did myself a couple of trainings in lucid dreaming. It's not an everyday thing for me, but it happens. And I heard of people having the encounters of the entities in the lucid dreamings where they would get their questions answered, and other plays and funs that you can have while you have a seeming control of what's happening. But again, it's all seeming control. That the same like in this dream, the control is seeming because you don't know what your next thought is going to be. But yeah, the best thing, you are missing absolutely nothing, but by not subscribing to any set of concepts about the phenomena. And animals are dreaming too. Yeah, we experienced a couple of times the cat jumping out in fear. He kind of sleeps, one of them sleeps between us. And yeah, that was painful. No one is wondering how to drop the habit pattern also. That is Tanya. Yeah, that's it. No one's wondering. Yeah.
Oh. When the belief is there that I've got to drop it, that's the problem.
Yes, Megan says, just processing it seems like hard work. Yeah, processing is always kind of working it in the mind. It's steaming out of your ears.
If you don't like hard work, stop it.
Stop it. John David is saying, knowing that everything is that, why am I not more loving? There is still a lot of judgment here, especially at work. Judgment implies there is something other and that something should be different than it is.
Well, when you realise it's not John David Weekly, you are that living love. As Nisargadatta says, you are that living love itself. Can there be any more?
Yeah. And also I like when Bob says, be warm towards yourself. Because, wanting to drop judgment or be more loving is harsh. I mean, maybe you are just as loving as life wants you to be. And if you look at yourself with that warmth and acceptance, and in that warmth and acceptance of the miracle that you are, judgment comes up, how is that yours? It's an impersonal pattern that is just here because it's probably been modeled at the age of 4 maybe, or even earlier. You were brought up in the society when everyone passes the judgment. And it's not even that people do it. Everyone has judgments coming up in them. So there is a judgment coming up in the consciousness that you are expressed as. But they're not yours. They're just the habit pattern. Don't worry about it. Just, when it comes up, it came up. Who cares? Don't give it attention. Nothing can stay in the appearance without attention. If you ignore it, there is not any harm in it. Bill, thinking you are not free is freedom. Thinking you are not free is freedom.
Freedom of thinking.
Freedom from thinking.
Freedom is the thinking. Think of whether it's thinking it is or it is not.
Yeah. Freedom is. Yes. Thinking isn't. Freedom is. Thinking is just thinking. What life does is always perfect. We've been here. Yes. And Judith likes my dress. That's just the top, but thank you. And yes, I think we have to go to some different screen because that one doesn't give me anything more. Yeah, just got a different screen. Newest. Nope. Nope. I better check the font. Maybe there is something that shows up here. Oh yes, there is. Tanya says, beautiful daffodils. You must have a beautiful home. It looks beautiful from what can be seen. Yes, thank you. It's yeah, it's quite pleasant to be here. Is the love that we share with our babies' cats, and home is falling apart a little bit, but needs a lot of work. But yeah, it's a safe place. And when the restrictions end, maybe you will want to make a trip to Australia and visit. Again, we'll try this one. Nope. I'll have a look. Oh yeah, we have another one from Amarnath. We hold dream only because of two things. One, stamp of reality. Two, wanting happiness from our dream. This is quote from Nisargadatta. And there is a quote from Muji, Atul gives us. There is no cloud inside a cloud, no tree inside the tree. There is just consciousness. Yeah, that's cute. There is no controller inside that body either. There is no doer or little human there who is thinking thoughts.
And the Sangha also says, realise you are dreaming a dream you call the world, and stop looking for ways out.
Yeah.
And trying. He says, the dream is not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. He says, love all of it or none of it. Just leave it as it is. And the rest will be done for you by the same essence that took you into the dream in the first place.
Yeah.
So this thing we call the world is a dream, as I say.
I got a couple more. Pay no mind. That's from Tony. And Jesse, we cannot be any different than we are. Neither can anyone or anything else. Precisely so. And Michael, we confuse the horse with the rider. We are actually meant to ride the mind. Yeah, mind is to be a tool. I don't know who said it, quite a few different authors are assigned to that quote, that the mind is a great servant but terrible master. There is Amarnath, there are no two things as mind and mind rider, but appears to be so, as long as we are thinking separate ego center. Then what watches the mind, friend? Ask Michael.
What?
I think you can answer. What is watching the mind if there are no two things like mind and the mind rider? What watches the mind then?
Just seeing, watching or hearing, seeing, but there's no seer and no seen. But as it says in the scriptures again, seeing no thing, yet it is seen. What you see is no thing. Because all this manifestation are things.
Yeah.
And the things are not real. Not real. They're only appearing to be so. So when you look around the room without labelling anything, you realise you're seeing everything, knowing what it is, but you're not discriminating by putting any word or label on it. The word is not the real. Have a look around the room. You know what everything is when you see it, without saying that's a photo in a frame, or that's that sofa. You know what it is. Walk down the street, do the same thing. Yeah. And that statement comes true, seeing no thing, yet it is seen. So that means there's just the pure seeing. As soon as you say, I see, you formed a subject. The conceptual image you have about yourself, me, Bob, thinks that's the conceptual image, thinks it's seeing. Yeah. And I'm seeing the sofa or the pictures on the wall of the chair. But can there be the seer? Can there be Bob that's seeing without seeing? There can't be. Because what's going to see if there's no seeing going on? Yeah. No eyes to see anything. And can there be the seen, what I'm seeing now and labeling, without the seeing? No. So the seer and seen, which are both conceptual images, are contained in the seeing. And the seeing is the activity that's going on right now. Just the same thing with thinking. Yeah. I think this thought. Thinker and thought are subject-object duality. But thinking is the pure being right now. So seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking, feeling. The ing is something that's happening in the immediacy. Right now, everybody is seeing, hearing, not yesterday or tomorrow, but now. Thinking and all of it. Ask yourself, what's my next thought going to be? You don't know. Because the next thought is no. Next is always spontaneous immediacy.
So riding the mind applies the same. I mean, thinking is like, you could say, riding the mind is also a functioning, the ing. So it's just a riding, but there's no ride there and the object of riding. Without the riding or observing the mind, there wouldn't be, without the process or capacity or space of observing, there wouldn't be subject-object constructed by the mind. So it's always the functioning, the processing, the thinking, the feeling, the awareing, selfing, whatever it is, the immediate process by the mind divided by to subject-object.
Yeah. And it's all spontaneously happening.
Yeah.
You're seeing, hearing, thinking. Then you seemingly go into the concept of time when I say I saw that, or I will see that when I turn over the page or something like that. You put a story on it, divide it, but it's only the pure functioning. Experiencing, you're experiencing right now. And then you'll say, that experience I had yesterday, now that's dead. The experience I might have, what are you experiencing right now? You're experiencing what you're seeing, hearing, tasting. It's all purely happening in the immediacy. So that's, you see that the concept then of time is always about the past and future are not what is right now. Yeah. So this immediacy is very spontaneous, got no duration to it, it doesn't last. Because try and grasp now. I've got it, but it's gone. No, I've got it again, no. So you can't say it's beginning and everything, or ending. And they call it spander, or a throb, or a soma, I think is another word, or vril, or all sorts of labels they put on it.
I wish I could remember as many words as you do. John David is asking, Bob, can you explain the quote from Nisargadatta about the dream and loving all of it or none of it?
I just mentioned it a bit before, didn't I?
You did, but can you explain the loving all or none?
Yeah.
having no taking sides, or no choosing or picking or differentiating.
Yeah. Well, have a look at how we function. Even in the mind, something comes up and we like it. We don't want it to go, so we resist it, try to keep it there, we resist it, not realising it's going to change. Something comes up that we don't like, and we try to get rid of it, we resist it. But what happens if you leave it as it is, without trying to alter it, modify it, or correct it, and realise that there is no thought stitched in your mind anywhere. There's no static thought in your mind. Thought's constantly changing also to label the dream. So if you don't leave it as it is, whatever comes up so-called bad, don't resist it, leave it there. It's something called good and it's going to move on, leave it as it is. Be with the constant isness of it all.
Yeah.
Recognising or ising. So that's when the actual living is going on. But when you're relating to a past event, and you continue to relate to past events, and there'll be more past events coming up, or previous ones, and the story goes on and on. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? If you're not relating to it's good or bad, that living dream is going on now, it's just as it is.
Yeah.
You can't. And it's transient. You don't have to change it because it changes by itself. Like the clouds seemingly covering the sun, and they can block the sun out, they can obscure it. The thoughts that covering this pure awareness we are, they can seemingly obscure it. So we're not noticing it, not seeing it. But when you realise the wind comes up and blows the cloud away, there's more clarity there, because if that cloud was stitched on to the sky, you wouldn't be able to get rid of it. But it's part of the functioning also, because the sun itself forms the cloud. So all these good and bad thoughts, it's that life essence itself that's forming them.
Yeah.
But they're not two. Every stick has two ends to it. And every story has a beginning and end to it. So it's always divided, and every thought vibrates in the pairs of opposites, past, future, present, vain. Leave it as it is, unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. And the rest will be done for you.
Yeah.
See, it's all as a functioning. Where's life going to take it next? This is what I used to do on the farm, and things would come up, and I was wondering what was next. So I wonder what's going to happen next, you know. I mean, before that, when I was locked in the mind, I'd be desperate, and we would try, want to kill myself. Couldn't put up with it anymore. The pain had become too much. So. But leaving it as it is, it just unfolded by itself. It mightn't always be the way you want it to be, but if it's not that way, it won't be as severe as it would have been if I was fixated on it, struggling with it.
That's right.
But it moves on. And see that thought is moving on in you right now. And in the dream, we might try and get rid of it or mightn't like it, but we wake up from the dream sooner or later. It's not going to, and you won't go into the same dream again, because it'll be fresh and new, even though it might be the same things happening in it.
And the same applies to daydreams, like, you know, the train of thought that you embark and you're gone with the birds for 20 minutes. I like that aspect of that quote of Nisargadatta, which it will be the same what you said, because it ultimately is the same. Love all of it or none of it, or like love it or hate it, but evenly, because it doesn't matter either way. If you have the same sort of attitude towards absolutely everything, then you have no attitude at all, because attitude is only possible if it has the opposite. So if you love everything and there is absolutely nothing that you don't love, love disappears. When you hate everything and there is absolutely nothing that you don't hate, the hate disappears, because they can only be known from their opposite.
Yeah.
So what Nisargadatta is showing, that doesn't matter whether you like it or not like it, but you just don't differentiate, because when the opposite disappears, you land in the non-dual. When there is no flavor, that's the cognizing emptiness, which unconditionally accept pain and pleasure, winter and summer, death and birth, all of it. Form comes and form go, and there is no investment, judgment, or personalizing it or relating it to the opposite or to the fictitious self, to which usually things are being related to be evaluated.
As it says in the I Ching Ming, when no discriminating thoughts arise, the old mind ceases to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Long time no see, Bob. Really nice to hear and see you speak today about what we are. I love you, Bob. It is beautiful to see you with Kat too. That's from Bill. Thank you.
Bill.
Here. I'm not putting out all last names in case. Yeah, but you can see. And you'll read them also. After lunch, Bob usually reads all the messages. Heyman, yesterday I was swimming in a mild, wavering ocean, and I deeply realized the most appropriate place to be as an apparent pattern in the apparent formation of world is equator. In fact, geographically, the richest parts of the world are aligned with the equator. That's a beautiful poetic expression of the equilibrium, or the middle way, or having no extremes at all, accepting everything as it comes and goes, including judgments. Odeline, good morning from sunny Taz. Look well, Uncle Bob, love you. And beautiful daffodils that we've seen, yes. And yes, Tanya says, I would love to visit once the restrictions have been lifted. And Donna sending loves. Oh yeah, we hope to see you soon too. And Bob is tuned in today. Gave my quote as soon as I wrote in. Yeah, it is really the phone that is scattering around. I got the comments from 10 minutes ago, then from 36 minutes ago, then from 11 minutes ago. So I can't really follow, and as I changed but this one was lucky. I read the comment for you right when it came. And Michael, right now I don't mind the mind. It can do what it evolved to do, and I can use it effectively. Or I can laugh at the stuff it comes up with. Thanks, Bob and Kat. Yeah, that's a nice. Yeah, that's it. Don't mind the mind. And there is
there in that one, you don't mind the mind. Who's minding the mind is if you know the pure intelligence itself that's coming through and minding the mind. Well, then you can never be a bother to you. When you take it from the personal, you mightn't like what comes up.
That's it. So yeah, Michael doesn't mind. He doesn't have the problem. Things happen effectively, and that's a beautiful sharing. Absolutely beautiful. Now Amarnath says no one has mind any time, but it's a word or concept or pattern appears to be so as long as we believe or give importance. The good luck building a house, Michael says. Yeah, well, in the sharing, the best thing is just to look at the underlying energy or intention, rather than just fight of whether there is a word, this word is valid or not valid. They all symbols of something that we interpret as. Yes, so ultimately, what is the mind? The stream of thinking. What is the thinking? It's a vibration. So is there a vibration or there isn't a vibration? Is there a thing or isn't? It's just sitting in the mind to work it out, drop it. Tanya says, love all of it or none of it, leaving it just as it is. So beautiful. The dream is just as it is anyway. Unmodified, uncorrected, ever fresh, non-conceptual. That's it. Yeah, whether you like it or not, the dream will unfold exactly as it should. Great message today. That's from Chetan. And Dale says equanimity. That's right. Knower and known are both phenomenos, yoga, vashita, Amarnath. And Atul, when you accept what is, then what is accepts you. And time, place, person or cause are appearing as mind icons in the desktop screen self. Yes, sweet. They all nice way of putting out the same in different words. And Chatraf, everything comes and goes. So is everything an illusion?
Yes, everything is illusion. There is no thing. No things are appearing on the empty screen, which is no thing. Can something come from no thing?
Yeah.
Or can no thing come from something?
And the question is not about everything comes and goes. Is there anything that doesn't? Maybe there is something that doesn't, but that something is not a thing.
Yeah.
That is where the interest should be. What doesn't ever change? What is always there, regardless of changing objects? Forget the changing. Go back to the changeless, and you'll find no thing. Or you won't find it.
That's right. Well, look at space. Is space is something?
Yeah.
Can you encompass it? Put a boundary on it? Put a centre to it? Fly to the end of space and tell me what's there. Is there? But there's no thing. Now, tell me something, postulate something that can be out of space.
Yeah.
Nothing can be out of space.
Nothing.
So no thing. So space is no thing, and everything is coming from appearing in space. So it must be no thing also. Appearing as something.
Yeah. Like a rainbow.
But appearance is only seemingly so. Phenomenal.
Like a dream.
Like a dream.
Amarnath, Bob, can you explain, do you love full or none of part of the dream? Which one you like or easy you feel?
I love what?
Can you explain, do you love full or none of part?
What was that
of
word?
Full or none?
Full.
Yes.
Or
Of none of part of the dream. Which one you like or easy you feel?
whichever way it happens, there's no you that's going to grab onto it. That's the difference. However it appears, is left as it is. If sometimes the old habit comes up and discord in it, well, it's not about trying to dissect it or carry on with the story. It goes on again, but full stop as quickly as possible. Recognise as probably as possible. Just don't go there.
Yeah, I think it is sort of a suggested question about the preference. Don't you prefer to feel love towards everything than be neutral? Yeah, there is a pleasure in love, of course. There is a natural bias towards pleasure in the system, but ultimately it doesn't matter.
But who can have the preference?
That's it. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
If you're relating it to the conceptual image of the person.
Yeah.
Nature's not out there saying it's a fine day today or cloudy day.
And here you have from Chetan, how to get in love with self. How to get in love with self. This one.
Self is love. Self is life. Life is love. Being is love. That's all there is. And the Sagata says there is only love. Only life. Nobody who lives the life. Life lives on life. And out of life, more life comes.
There is Amarnath answer that. Actually, he answered it just the same. He says, love equals self. There are no two things. It is non-dual. Separation is an illusion. Yeah?
Yep.
And one way, every time when there is a question coming, and it is totally genuine, practical question, how to do something, there are two answers. First, you can't do anything, you're not the doer, you're not even there to do it. And a second, recognition that it is already so is available. Just that recognition may come up, that it is already so. That self-love is already present. At least in the fact that, there is being, so there is a loving to be. There is no suicide didn't happen, so there is a love for being. That's self-evident. But it is a recognition. It's not an act of doing. It's not even not an act of investigation or contemplation, because who would be doing it? It's just falling or tuning back into that frequency of what is already so. It may happen inspired by pointing. That's what we're doing here. Taz, you are amazing, Bob. Thanks for pointing me to look beyond what I think I see and beyond who I think sees it. Beautifully said. Yes, he is amazing.
Love you, Taz.
Yes, we both do. And Catherine, hi Bob and Kat. Bob, you are always fresh and new. You are so good together, and when restrictions end, I will gladly help with any renovations you need. Would gladly help my guru. That's James. Thank you, James. That's beautiful. And beautiful listening today, Bob and Kat. Thank you. And enjoying the blessing, Jane says. Thank you. And Mitra, morning, Bob and Kat and everyone. Can we simply get rid of our likes and dislikes?
You don't have to indulge in it, of course.
Who you really are is neutral. Likes and dislikes appear and disappear on it.
What are they words? What like and dislike are words.
Yeah.
Without the word, where's like and where's dislike? What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it?
Yeah. And why would you want to get rid of it? I think that, the part of the makeup of the body is the survival instinct, and that survival instinct creates the likes and dislikes. And it is all over the nature. If you look at the animals, I always bring up our cats because they're lying around here. They have likes and dislikes towards certain food or certain behavior or certain way of getting attention. And that helps the body survive. But who you truly are, the pure consciousness, undifferentiated and not having any preferences, that ultimately the emptiness that is all embracing doesn't have likes. The body does, but are you the body? And is the problem that the body has likes and dislikes? Nope. If you understand that likes and dislikes are not personal, enjoy them. They're part of the play.
As the Hin Sing Ming says, the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences.
Yeah.
When love and hate are both absent, and that could be like or dislike or anything else, everything becomes clear and undisguised.
Yeah.
Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. Heaven's never apart from earth, earth's never apart from heaven, but we seemingly separate them with the mind.
Yeah.
And then you see the truth, hold no opinions for or against anything.
Yeah, I love that part, because I remember you explained it a few times. Hold no opinions doesn't mean that opinions will not come. Opinion, like and dislike, is an opinion.
Yeah.
They will come. Just don't hold on to them. The holding on to them makes them personal, creates the involvement, the false center, the entity that is believed into existence, and this is my belief, this is my value, this is my ethics. That creates the problem. If the likes and dislikes come and go.
And the first part I said, have no preferences.
Yes. Yeah.
When love and hate are both absent, everything.
Yeah. If they show up, they show up. If they don't, they don't. And Amarnath has answered again. Beautiful. To whom are likes and dislikes? Who am I? Well done. Yeah, Amarnath is on the ball with the...
Yeah. Not taking a static point
Very good.
to relate to.
Yeah. Yeah.
No relationship, no duality. Relativity is relationship.
And the basic recognition that everything, as Heyman said on the beginning, everything is perfect, just as life wants to manifest it for this moment. So if there are likes and dislikes showing up, that's perfect. It's nothing wrong. Nothing needs to change. Nothing needs to be contrived or altered or corrected or modified. It's just a recognition that it is already so, that every pattern comes and goes, and every thought, feeling, emotion, sight, sound, and all of it is just a play. And Tanya says, wow, this is neutral. There is no good or bad really. Good and bad are just words, concepts. Blown away by this. Amazing. Thank you.
That's what Shakespeare tells you. Nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
That is so true, yes. And Ben's answer to it, neutral is also a subtle reference point, but that's the concession to language. Yes. Yes, that's so true, yeah. Have to use words to speak, but yeah. I like if there are any better words. I mean, neutral is not so bad, but there might be better words. Like, yeah, impersonal is probably not too bad. Although they all over time gain. The more the word is in use, the more association it creates in the mind and images, and you know, the more meaning it gets, and then it's rubbish. Got to invent a new word.
Well, leave it as it is, and that'll fit everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Only someone will say, who is it to leave it?
Well,
you can rubbish every word.
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah, it still is as it is, yes. And Heyman, preferring good to evil is just value system of individuals who want to fix themselves to the world. In fact, life doesn't know about value. There is no value in anything, but individual assumes that enlightenment is more valuable than just being separated. It is just the dream of individual. Beautiful. Absolutely. Atul, the great-souled person sees even his own body in action as if it were someone else's. So how should he be disturbed by praise or blame? Ashtavakra Gita.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes. It's nothing's your own and everything's you. Sally, I have that experience at times, watching my body move and do things, but I can feel non-dual. What do you think, Bob? What do you think? Sally says, I have that experience at times, watching my body move and do things, but I can feel non-dual. What do you think?
Second feel.
Feel non-dual.
Yeah. Yes, good.
Yeah.
If you're not relating either to one or the other, it's natural non-duality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just the one. Not discriminating it.
Yes, so now Amarnath, changeless, can't be put into words or things. Thanks, Kat. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I actually even enjoy, sometimes people are trying to be smart ass and dispute the pointers and rubbish the pointer and show how it is irrelevant because the words are incorrect. Yeah, sure, of course. We don't deny that. Every pointer is just a finger showing to the moon. A finger's not the moon. And the word is not the thing. And John David, Bob is still as sharp as ever. He is a walking encyclopedia of knowledge. I wish my memory was as good. I agree. He may forget a word or two occasionally, but I forget words or two more occasionally than he does. And Atul, the entire field of consciousness is only as a film or a speck in I am. The I amness is being conscious of consciousness, being aware of itself. And it is indescribable because it has no attributes. That's a quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful. And Armanas says, thanks Kat for your two answers to all. Quiz already solved and all is well. No doer or questioner. Yes, I can sense it. You're always on the ball. You seem to know the truth pretty well, non-conceptually inside out, which is wonderful to see and hear. And thank you for your sharing, because it is helpful. It gives us great joy, but I'm sure it does give great joy to people who also hear it, because it has the right frequency to tune into. Thank you. Opinion or judging is not needed most of the times, Amarnath. And good on ya. Yeah, if they even not arise, that's a peace that passeth all understanding.
Yeah.
If they arise, that still doesn't obscure the peace, but if they don't, yum. Let's see what it says here. Oh, we have few that didn't show up on my phone. I have few more messages that didn't show up on the phone. So one says, ultimately the way is beyond language.
Yes.
Heyman. And there's Chetan, who is to achieve in emptiness? Good one. Very good. What is to achieve in emptiness? That's right. Bob says enlightenment is not an event or an event. That's right. Non-duality implies duality. And Tanya, thank you so much. No words are adequate to express this clarity, to talk about this. Words must be used. So much gratitude. Excellent satsang today. Love you all. And MJ, thank you for always showing up on Sundays. Love you all. And Darren, thank you very much for your teachings. If instead of loving or hating something, I just immerse in it fully with a feeling of loving kindness, there is non-dual separation. Work in progress, that one. And I think we actually over time now.
Here we are, yeah.
Yes, so thank you everyone. We hope we will continue showing up, because we have attempts against Bob, but hopefully we will be able to continue always. And thank you for your presence and your contribution.
Thank you, everyone. Love you all.
Love you all.
Keep up the good work, which is no work. But then,
enjoy, stay enjoy.
Those insights that you've understood, you pass them on to somebody else.
Yeah, or see what they understood. That's always a good way to actually get into right frequency. Ask them what they know. This is an innate wisdom. The pearls of wisdom can be found in every single pattern. Everyone innately already knows that. It has been covered by conditioning and learning words, but it is there.
Okay.
Thank you.